Welcome to the first ever career face-off between Elly De La Cruz and Corbin Carroll. We're going to take 10 years of their entire professional career, simulate it, and at the end of it, find out who had the better career in MLB the Show 23. During their 10-year career, we are not going to touch a thing. Where they bat in the lineup, whether they get traded, whether they're benched or sent down to the minors, we're not touching a thing. We're just going to let it ride and see exactly what happens at the All-Star break, at the end of the year, and then again we'll check in at the end of 10 years. So, let's get to it. At the All-Star break in year one, let's see how Elly De La Cruz is doing so far. Stats are climbing, 76 overall, still A potential. And at the All-Star break, 10 home runs, 35 RBIs, struck out 95 times with a 259 average. Let's go ahead and check out, what is his WAR? His WAR's at a 1.0. That is interesting. Corbin Carroll also having a great start to the year. Attributes are climbing, 76 overall, so they are now dead even. 11 home runs, 43 RBIs, 61 strikeouts with 18 walks. Still managed to get 10 stolen bases, 271 average, 325 OBP, and the WAR is sitting at about 1.9. So far, Corbin Carroll is in the lead. Year one in the books, let's see how Corbin Carroll fared. And yeah, attributes increased, A potential overall, 13 home runs, 55 RBIs, but a 220 average with a 293 OBP. Struck out 119 times, but did muster 16 stolen bases. And overall, we're looking at a WAR of about 0.4. So a decent start to the career for Corbin Carroll, jumping up to 78 overall. Slipping over to Elly De La Cruz to see how, attributes increased again. Also 78 overall for Elly De La Cruz, A potential holding strong. And in his rookie season, 19 home runs, 56 RBIs, high strikeouts but 24 stolen bases, 248 average, 309 OBP with a WAR of 2.2. Let's go ahead and check out year one, end of year awards. And for the most valuable player, we got Austin Riley from Atlanta. Cy Young goes to Julio Urias, and the batting title to Manny Machado. Rookie of the year, Miguel Vargas from Los Angeles. And I have to assume, that average of 312 and the 384 OBP certainly put him over the edge. But Elly De La Cruz coming in second place for Rookie of the Year. Corbin Carroll nowhere to be found on this list. Elly De La Cruz, I think, making a statement, coming out with the early lead. It's 1-0 Elly De La Cruz. At the start of year two, both teams have helped their young prospects by adding pieces around them. The Arizona Diamondbacks have added Bo Bichette and CJ Cron to help bolster their lineup, as well as adding the likes of Luis Severino and Blake Snell to their rotation. Meanwhile, the Reds, not to be outdone, have added Eloy Jimenez and Rhys Hoskins to their lineup. Also, for their pitching rotation, they went ahead and added Aaron Nola and Jack Flaherty. Here we are at the All-Star break. The Diamondbacks sit in third at 43 and 48, 18 games back. Let us see how Corbin Carroll's doing. And up to 79 overall, still with his A potential, sitting on 9 home runs, 27 RBIs, 223 average. Again, that average is really struggling. Striking out 78 times on pace for 150 strikeouts on the year. 311 OBP and a WAR of, not great, 0.5. So Corbin Carroll having, I wouldn't call it a sophomore slump, but he's definitely not lighting up the boards. Let's see how our friend Elly De La Cruz is holding up. Elly, wow, we're having some regression here, especially in the power department. 79 overall, so he has improved in other areas. Only 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, 74 strikeouts, 256 average with a 318 OBP, and what are we looking at? A 1.8 WAR. So not awful, but really not what we were expecting from Elly De La Cruz. At the end of year 2, the Reds are missed the playoffs, and they were 5 back and lost their lead here in the National League Central. And if we look at the wild card, it was won by the Padres, Phillies, and the Brewers, with the Reds 2 games back. And spoiler alert, the Diamondbacks did not fare better. Let's see how they did within their division. Yeah, the Diamondbacks had finished 75-87, 32 games back. Hopefully our players, Elly De La Cruz and Corbin Carroll, fared better than that. Elly De La Cruz, wow, he really picked it up in the second half. Overall, 81, jumped up, still with his A potential. Ended the year on 13 home runs, 40 RBIs, 250 average with a 304 OBP. His strikeout rate has reduced slightly since the All-Star break, as he was on pace for 150 plus. And his WAR went up to 2.8 from 0.4. So we'll call that a win. Stolen bases at 24. And that's a pretty decent year for Elly De La Cruz. And if we go ahead and check out our friend Corbin Carroll here, who 81 overall as well. A potential. Stats are climbing pretty nicely across the board. And he ended up with 17 home runs, 53 RBIs, again with that average, sitting about 220 with a 300 OPP, striking out about 133 times, and his WAR is at 0.4. So that's pretty consistent for Corbin Carroll. Elly De La Cruz has won his first Gold Glove at third base with a .988 fielding percentage with 181 assists and 70 putouts, beating out Luis Arias and Alec Bregman. This is the first award for Elly De La Cruz, and it took into year 2 to receive it, and that has to mean something for him, and that has to mean something for his family and the team overall. His career is off to an awesome trajectory with an 81 overall, and that is just excellent to see. Going over to left field, and we do not see the same for Corbin Carroll. And I have to say, in looking at the two, I'm almost inclined to say that Elly De La Cruz has once again pulled it out and has taken year 2. Yeah, that gives Elly De La Cruz a 2-0 leg up on the battle for the career faceoff. But there are still 8 years to go. Let's get to season 3. Year 3, and the Cincinnati Reds are 45-45 and even 504.5 games back from the NL Central leading Cubbies. Let us see how our boy Elly De La Cruz is faring. Cold right now, but as for the year, not too bad. Really building up those stats. 82 overall, hitting 7 home runs, 35 RBIs with 12 stolen bases. His average has certainly dipped a little bit at a 228. OBP staying strong in what his career average has been so far. That WAR, though, wins after replacement, is actually down from his average of about 2.5. So far, I would say it's a pretty C average type of year for Elly De La Cruz. Moving over to Arizona, who's also in third at 449 win percentage, 40-49, 24 games behind the leading LA Dodgers. We said in the beginning, this is an absolutely tough division, 714 winning percentage for those Dodgers. And Corbin Carroll, while on Fuego, his stats are actually dropping a bit, but except for right-handed power hitting. He's got 9 home runs, 32 RBIs, batting .238 with a .307. Both of these numbers are actually higher than average, so he's doing well there. His strikeout rate is actually an alarming 85 strikeouts. He's on pace for that 170 mark. And his WAR is about 1, which is really a 100% increase plus from years prior. So far, Corbin Carroll, I would say, is having a better start to year 3 campaign, but there's plenty of time to play. Let's see how things shape up for the end of the year. Year 3 has seen a wild finish with both Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds making it into the playoffs, and I can only imagine that this is through wild card contention. Yeah, so the Diamondbacks have finished third in the West at 25 games back of the Dodgers, who had a record-breaking 107 win season, and both the Reds and the Diamondbacks really just squeaking in there. The Giants were dead even with the Diamondbacks, same win percentage. That head-to-head matchup might have fallen into our favor, and we just got in there. So this is the first playoff appearance from both Elly De La Cruz as well as Corbin Carroll. And just to kind of check to see how our fellas are doing at the moment, Corbin Carroll, before the playoffs, he is finishing at the year at an 84 overall. His stats are increasing nicely. He had 15 home runs, 57 RBIs with a 253 average, which is 30 points, well above his last two seasons, with a 329 OBP, powering the way for the Diamondbacks to finish atop that wild card. And his WAR was a 2.7, which is, again, night and day from previous years of a 0.4, as we've seen in 2024 and 2023. For Elly De La Cruz, however, wow, again, in fuego, and he finished the year 85 overall with how many home runs? 19 home runs, 88 RBIs. That batting average has stayed the same, about 250. His strikeout rate is 2-1 to walk, so that's always going to be an issue. 325 OBP, and his WAR is 4.2. So really, I think Season 3 is going to come down to whoever has the better playoffs. Both players are making incredible improvements and are setting themselves up for a insane prime. Both players going into their mid-20s, plenty of time left to, for their careers to really come out ahead. So let's see how the playoffs shape up for both the Cincinnati Reds and the Arizona Diamondbacks in year 3. So while both teams have advanced, Cincinnati beating San Diego and Arizona beating Chicago, Cincinnati, unlucky, has to face the 107 win team in the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Arizona has to play the 2 seed against Atlanta. So let us see how this kind of pans out. Here we have San Diego against the LA Dodgers, currently 1-1. Looking at Game 3, which was a loss. Game 4, a win. 2-2, coming down to the last game of a 5-game series. And the Diamondbacks have been eliminated by the Braves, but it looks like the Cincinnati Reds, they've won the National League Divisional Series. And they're going to face Atlanta. Elly De La Cruz is going to face Atlanta in the National League Championship Series for the hope of getting into the World Series. Starting off 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, not looking good. The Reds have been swept by the Braves, and Elly De La Cruz is not going to see his first World Series. But let's check out to see how we've done on the year, statistically speaking. And Tyler Stevenson has won a batting title. That is interesting. As far as most valuable player, Juan Soto. Cy Young winner, Julio Urias. Batting title, Tyler Stevenson of the Reds. 27 home runs, 100 RBIs as a catcher with a 327 average. That is impressive. Going down the list here, again, Tyler Stevenson won a Gold Glove. A Gold Glove and a batting title, and probably a Silver Slugger to boot. Let's go. Elly De La Cruz second in Gold Glove to Manny Machado. So really, really close. About a .001 differential to get him to that Gold Glove status. And going down the line here, Sal Frelick of the Reds has won a Gold Glove. Tyler O'Neill, center field, has won a Gold Glove. The Cincinnati Reds is quickly pumping out some excellent players. Eloy Jimenez won a Silver Slugger here in DH. Tyler Stevenson second in Silver Slugger. Ryan Mountcastle for the Diamondbacks winning the Silver Slugger award at first. And other awards, nada. So that'll do for Season 3. Pretty exciting playoff series. It would have been really excellent to see the Arizona Diamondbacks take on the Cincinnati Reds to have a Corbin Carroll versus Elly De La Cruz. But given the playoff depth and how that kind of ended up, I'm going to have to go ahead and give the season to Elly De La Cruz, who takes a 3-0 advantage against Corbin Carroll in the career face-off. Let's get started on Season 4. The Diamondbacks are having an atrocious start to their 5th year, sitting in 4th, 14.5 games behind the NL West leading Padres, but at a .389 win percentage, 35-55 for a team that ranks 8th. That is no bueno. So Corbin Carroll, for some reason, in fuego at the moment. His stats are creeping up slowly, but he's hitting 10 home runs, 29 RBIs, 244 average with a 324 OBP, and his WAR is at a 2.1, slightly down, but still a lot higher than we've seen in recent years. The Cincinnati Reds is sitting at 56-34, 622, 6.5 games back from the Cardinals, who are just having a fantastic season. Both teams ending in their last 10 at 7-3, and I can only imagine De La Cruz being a large part of that. So checking his stats out, right now he's at an 86 overall. His stats are climbing, 8 potential, 13 home runs, 37 RBIs with 13 stolen bases. Still hitting that 250. He loves that number. 323 OBP, and his WAR is sitting at a 2.6. So Elly De La Cruz, again, edging Corbin Carroll just slightly. Both players are leading off for their respective teams, and both of them have many pieces around them. At the end of year 4, the Diamondbacks have finished in 4th place, 20 games out of the division-leading Dodgers. The Padres sneaking into the playoffs as well, again with that game differential with the Giants. However, it needs to be said that with their current pitching rotation of Zach Gallen, Mike Soroka, Severino, Blake Snell, and Brandon Pfaadt, it's remarkable that we are not faring any better. And looking at their lineups outside of Corbin Carroll, we still have Bo Bichette, Ryan Mountcastle, Alex Bregman, and Gabriel Moreno on our team, and they are just somehow failing to provide the offense. And the pitching's not doing great, but let's see what's happening with our leadoff hitter here in Corbin Carroll, up to an 86 overall at the end of his season. Everything is slightly ticking up. His fielding is fantastic. His discipline is, well, it's kind of getting there. Never gets hurt, and his contact is not really great against lefties. Right-handed hitters, he feasts upon. So on the season, 18 home runs, 54 RBIs with 18 stolen bases. Again, regressing back to his .231 average and OBP going backwards. His WAR at a 2.7. It's tough to see how Corbin Carroll bounces back. Maybe Elly De La Cruz had a rougher season 4, but looking at it, they have not. The Cincinnati Reds have somehow managed to finish, I believe, in 2nd place with 104 wins on the season, too short of the Cardinals, who finished with 106. Elly De La Cruz had a really spectacular year, 87 overall, still 24 years of age. All of his stats climbing nicely, 20 home runs, which will be his highest total yet, 66 RBIs with his highest total stolen base, batting at 240. Again, we're kind of expecting this number to stay between 240 and 250 for the rest of his career. OBP of 317, slugging at 431, and his WAR is 4.2, which matches last year's number. And again, it's tough to argue a case for Corbin Carroll when Elly De La Cruz is putting up monster numbers. Also, he's had the pleasure of making the playoffs. So let's see how he does against the Atlanta Braves. 1-1 here. This will be the series breaker, and they win. The Reds have moved on to take on the Cardinals, which is very fitting considering how the division kind of shaped up. First game against the Cardinals is a win. Second is a win. third is a loss, fourth is a win, and that's it. They've gone on to the National Championship Series against the LA Dodgers. Just to take a quick peek just to check, how is Corbin Carroll faring? We don't know. Okay. And here we go. National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. Elly De La Cruz with a win against the Dodgers in Game 1. A loss, 1-1, day off. A loss, 1-2. Starting to struggle. Let's see if Jack Flaherty can bring it back for them. No, it's 1-3. Aaron Nola, their ace, looking to salvage what's left of the series. And no, he takes the loss. And the Reds have once again fallen short in the National League Championship Series in back-to-back years. 2023 and 2024 have seen the Reds climb, and that will be that for the Cincinnati Reds in year 4. However, we look at the awards for the month, and Aaron Nola once again wins a Cy Young. Vladimir Guerrero wins the National League MVP, and Brendan Donovan coming back to win as well. Let's check out some of the awards. Postseason MVP, we're not going to see our people there, sadly, maybe one day. MVP again, Vladimir Guerrero. Cy Young, Aaron Nola. Batting title for Brendan Donovan with that .327 average. Let's see what else we kind of won. Arizona's Gabriel Moreno won the Gold Glove. Nolan Arenado won the Gold Glove at third base, but Elly De La Cruz, again, second place in the Gold Glove competition for third. Nolan Arenado, will you please retire and make way for the future? Hopefully soon. Noelvi Marte, look at that, Gold Glove as shortstop. The Rook, making a case. Corbin Carroll, Corbin Carroll has won a Gold Glove. This changes nothing, but it is nice that Corbin Carroll has won his first piece of silverware. Thank you, Corbin Carroll, for having a 1.000 fielding percentage. He has not made an error all year round, and that'll bring him up to 86 overall. This is great news for Corbin Carroll. He finally has he's got some, he's putting some respect on his name. That's what he's really looking for. Halfway through year 5, the Cincinnati Reds sit on top of the NL Central at 56-34, ranked 5th, and I can only imagine a lot of that has to do with Elly De La Cruz, who is actually on 88 overall, A potential, has 9 home runs, 31 RBIs, and batting his highest batting average to date of .268 with a .344 OBP, slugging .403, and a WAR of 2.4. Not his best. However, offensively, he's really putting out a show right now with 18 stolen bases. So that is excellent, leading a lineup that many people have considered one of the best in a long time. Absolutely stacked with talent here. A lot of these players are going to be gone next season, so they're calling this a last chance squad. Switching over to Arizona in the middle of the year, the Diamondbacks find themselves 12 games back behind the leading Padres, with the Dodgers 1 game back behind them. And let's check out Corbin Carroll and Corbin Carroll has skyrocketed to 88 overall. He is now floating in stats with 11 home runs, 49 RBIs, a .284 average, and a .353 OBP. Folks, this is a different player than we've seen in years past. Now 26 years of age, really starting to figure it out. And a WAR of 3.0, which will be his best. Can only imagine how the rest of the season turns out and whether or not he can actually lead Alec Boehm and Bo Bichette and Ryan Mountcastle with Gabriel Moreno, who's also firing on all cylinders, to a playoff appearance. But they definitely have some work to do in the wild card position. But if anybody can do it, Corbin Carroll can. Let's check out until the year. Both the Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds have made the playoffs once again. Cincinnati, they have actually won the division, and that is a first for the National League Central leading Cincinnati Reds, finishing at 94-68 without the Cardinals winning 100+ games. Really opened up for the Reds, and they had cruised into the end of the season rather easily. However, when we look at the other side, we go to the West. The Diamondbacks has snuck into the second wild card position underneath the Dodgers. The NL West sending 3 out of 5 teams into the playoffs at 90-72, 16 games back, has somehow made it. Elly De La Cruz has won a Gold Glove, his second of his career so far in year 5, and that will, I guess, Nolan Arenado has finally started to regress as a player. Elly De La Cruz is stepping in and really making his case for an excellent fielder. And going into left field, Corbin Carroll. Wow. That is between Kyle Isbell and Corbin Carroll, both with immaculate records. Kyle with just 3 more putouts and 1 more assist, edging out Corbin Carroll for Corbin's second Gold Glove. And that is going to sting, especially after Corbin had such a wonderful offensive output. And let us see how we did here in the Silver Slugger. Nothing for Elly De La Cruz. And in the outfield, Corbin Carroll coming in really the 4th best outfielder. He's already won and edged out against Elly De La Cruz here in year 5. But it just seems that like he's always the bridesmaid and never the bride, seemingly coming in second almost every time. But you know what? It's nothing to hang your head in shame about. Corbin Carroll, the 4th best outfielder in the National League here in year 5. So let's run through the playoffs and see how we do. Right now we're going to start with Arizona against Philadelphia in the first round. And just like that, Philadelphia and Corbin Carroll's first run at the playoffs have been swept, quote unquote, 2 games and fall to the Philadelphia Phillies rather meekly, which means Philadelphia advanced and will face Elly De La Cruz and the Cincinnati Reds. And let's see how that goes. Cincinnati taking a loss in the first game, a loss in the second, a win in the third. Hunter Green looking to even up the series, and he does not. And the Reds have also been eliminated here in year 5. Elly De La Cruz up to 90 overall, however, with an 80 potential. The contact is really bursting now at 70. The speed, the fielding at 99 for both his arm and accuracy rating as well. He ends the year at 19 home runs, 51 RBIs with a 258 average and a 340 OBP, and a WAR of about 4.5, which is the best he's seen in his career. So overall, a pretty good season for Elly De La Cruz, but it's going to be difficult now that so many contracts are running out on the Cincinnati Reds. They're going to have to make some difficult choices here in the future. Over to Corbin Carroll to see how his season has gone overall. Batting 5th, dropped down from the leadoff spot. Corbin Carroll is now a 90 overall. His power numbers have kind of leveled out, actually, and his contact has creeped up as well, now becoming a better all-around player. He hit 26 home runs with 95 RBIs, batting 300 with a 368 OBP, and a WAR of 7. Corbin Carroll clearly takes year 5 in the prime of their years. I would say Corbin Carroll is starting to maybe dip ahead of Elly De La Cruz. We're going to need more data. We're going to need more statistics. So let's go on into year 6 and see how we fare then. Year 6, and we're at the All-Star break. Arizona ranked 17th, sitting in 4th place in the NL West. Again, the Dodgers and the Padres, year in and year out, just trading 1-2 spots, and seemingly no room for the Diamondbacks to really just hope and pray for a wild card spot. Above 500 by 1 game, but 14 games back. Let's see how Corbin Carroll is kind of faring. Up to 91 overall, dipping a little bit in some of his batting attributes, but the rest of his discipline, his vision, his fielding, all kind of creeping up. as well. Now at 27 years of age, 9 home runs, 41 RBIs, 264 average with a 3.44 OBP and a WAR that currently stands at 2.7, but that is a ways to go from what we saw out of him last season. This is back to Corbin Carroll light, and we're looking for the classic. Moving on to Elly De La Cruz and the Cincinnati Reds, sitting in third place, 15 games back. The Cardinals have somehow reawakened. The Cubs I am not too concerned with, but Elly himself is cold at the moment. His batting attributes, especially from the left side in contact, seem to be diminishing a little bit. 91 overall and 16 home runs, 46 RBIs with a 240 average. So we're slipping back into that average we thought he might live at, but the home run and the RBI total is in a really nice place to close out the rest of the year. OPS and slugging really looking nice. 2.3 WAR, about half of what we're kind of used to as well. So Elly De La Cruz with a decent start, I would say slightly edging Corbin Carroll here in year 6 at the All-Star break. But let's see how the rest of the season pans out here in Career Faceoff. The Diamondbacks have failed to make the playoffs once again, so really not a whole lot of appearances so far as we enter year 6 of Corbin Carroll's career monitoring. Behind the Dodgers, the Padres. I said I wasn't worried about the Giants, but maybe I should have been. 481 win percentage, 78 and 84. And let's take a quick look at how Corbin Carroll finished up the year. He did finish at 93 overall, and he skyrocketed in his contact as well as his vision did well, his discipline got up, and his fielding is, I have to imagine it's second to few with 95 fielding, his arm strength at 88, reaction at 99. He must be one of the best left fielders in the National League, if not all of Major League Baseball. Corbin Carroll with 20 home runs, 85 RBIs, and a 295 average with 18 stolen bases. That is a very strong finish to the year that we just saw that was creeping towards mediocrity. A 6.1 WAR with a 10% walk rate is fantastic. Stolen bases, again, living around that 18 to 20 area, but really it's the average that's been a key turnaround for Corbin as well. So despite Arizona not living up to potential, nobody could fault the goateed Corbin Carroll. Moving on to the Reds, who have actually made the wild card, and they got the 6th seed playing against St. Louis, their longtime nemesis. So we have a 3-game series here to see if Cincinnati cannot edge them to make the divisional series, and we're going to take a loss in the first game. The second game is a loss, and the Reds have been eliminated from the playoff contention. Let's take a look at how Elly De La Cruz has done so far this year. Wow, an 11-6 boost to power on both sides of the plate, 94 overall, and yeah, 26 years of age at 94. This is one heck of a career. It's batting .251 with 31 home runs, 86 RBIs. That 31 will eclipse every other yearly home run total that we've seen so far. Slugging percentage of .492. That OBP really dipped a little, and that's something we're going to have to be mindful of here in the future. And the WAR at 4.7, which is really, based on what we've seen so far over the last 3 or 4 years, have been a slow progression upwards. And Elly De La Cruz proving that he is one of the best third baseman, not only offensively but defensively, with a 82, 99, and 99 attribute at third base, almost at 80 for his reaction timing as well. Year 6 is ending strong for Elly De La Cruz. This is tough. This is a tough way to kind of decide between Corbin Carroll and Elly De La Cruz. I'm not sure. Maybe you can help me in the comments of who has had a stronger season. Both have had milestones in their careers, except Corbin really didn't have the same year he did last year. it was great, but it wasn't as great. So maybe Elly, because he's kind of pushing the envelope, raising his ceiling, and continuing to progress, edges out Corbin Carroll. But I'll let the folks decide. You guys tell me what you think. Corbin Carroll or Elly De La Cruz for Season 6. Either way, we're moving on, and we're about to start Season 7 here at Career Face-Off. But before we do that, But first, let's see if we've won any awards here. We're going to go through batting title, no. Reliever, no. Hank Aaron, no. Gloves. Tyler Stevenson came in second. Wamakata. Corbin Carroll second in the Gold Glove competition, again without an error. Now that changes things maybe potentially between Corbin and Elly for year 6. Again, Kyle Isbell just not letting up. What's confusing is that Corbin has had 308 putouts against Kyle's 278, but Kyle had one more assist, and that'll probably be the difference there. Going into third base, was anybody even... yeah, Elly De La Cruz came in third. Jose Miranda just really overtook that position. To check out the Silver Sluggers, let's go to third base. Elly De La Cruz did not show up in that award, but in the outfield division, we... no. Nothing for Corbin Carroll as well. So really just a runner-up for Elly De La Cruz in the Gold Glove category. Second runner-up. And then for Corbin Carroll, again, tying and getting robbed here in the Gold Glove Awards. First in contact, first in your hearts, but last in the division, the Cincinnati Reds have plummeted from a team that was a perennial playoff powerhouse into now seemingly a basement team. 37-54, 11 and a half games back, trailing the perennial first place team, the St. Louis Cardinals. However, Elly De La Cruz is now batting 7th somehow. His batting numbers have kind of flattened down and gone down, actually. And his stats have been a little bit staggering. His average dipping back to 243, only 10 home runs, 33 RBIs. And, well, his WAR is probably nothing to write home about it, at 2.4, but he's classically been a second half player. I don't necessarily like where he's batting currently in the lineup, so let's move things around a little bit. But at the same time, it is not pretty here for Elly De La Cruz, who is currently, struggling with the rest of the team is probably the best way to put it. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, 12th overall, and that seems fitting. Again, behind the Dodgers and the Padres, they are a tough franchise to squeak ahead of. 15 and a half games back, 49-42. Not an embarrassing record. They take care of business when they can. And Corbin Carroll is having a pretty decent year. Stats still climbing, 94 overall, 13 home runs, 42 RBIs with a 280 average, OBP 389, slugging 485, and a WAR of 3.4. So Corbin Carroll finally having some consistency in his game, and I would say definitely off to a better start in year 7 here than his nemesis, Elly De La Cruz. Let's take it to the end of the year. Unfortunately, neither team are going to make the playoffs, and that is a real shame. Let's check out the awards here at the end of the season. Most valuable player is going to go to Juan Soto. Cy Young here at Ian Anderson. Gunnar Henderson, the original Baltimore prospect, and now on the Nationals, Alec Bohm making a fight for it on the Diamondbacks, which is great to see. Going into the Hank Aaron Award, Eloy Jimenez making a case, but I am not seeing either Elly De La Cruz. Elly De La Cruz with his 3rd Gold Glove in the series so far. So people obviously were excited about Elly's speed, potential power, and exciting gameplay. Kind of that wild card statistic, but really his field has been really making a name for himself. He's in a long line of NL Central defending third baseman. Elly De La Cruz is taking on that mantle and really making the position his own. So Elly De La Cruz with his third Gold Glove. Going into left field, Corbin Carroll also winning a Gold Glove. That's number 2. So Corbin Carroll finally getting Kyle Isbell to drop a ball potentially, because Corbin has been near perfect every single season, yet only his second Gold Glove thus far. Let's check out some of the Silver Slugger awards. Elly De La Cruz is not going to be in there. Alec Boehm, however, for the Diamondbacks are. And in the outfield, no dice, unfortunately. Juan Soto, Eloy Jimenez of the Reds, Brian Reynolds, Jazz Chisholm Jr., and Ronald Acuna Jr. Have all made up the outfielders of the year. So defensively, our prospects are on point. Offensively, not so great. So let's take a closer look at that. We'll start with Corbin Carroll, who 93 overall. His batting stats are starting to dip a little bit at 28 years old. However, his discipline went up to 84, a +9 throughout the year. Batting average dipping at 262. He had 18 home runs, 67 RBIs, strikeouts at a high of 136, and a WAR of about 5.5, which is lower than his average. So not his best season, however, certainly not his worst. And if we take a look at Elly De La Cruz and how he's been faring, batting 4th, 88 overall. So again, Corbin Carroll is edging him in. And if we take a look at how Elly De La Cruz is faring, 95 overall. Just like Corbin, his batting seems to be dipping a little bit outside of the lefty contact and power. And 233 average, his worst full season average, only 511 at-bats this year, 19 home runs, 58 RBIs, and let's take a look at his WAR real quick of a 4.0, and I can't help but think that has to do with the simulation putting him at 7th position because the lineup is so stacked. We may have to make a move here to give Eloy the boot and give Elly an opportunity to really show what he's got. But head to head, both players have won a Gold Glove. Both players have kind of, I don't want to say regressed, but they haven't really had their best seasons yet. So this is kind of a toss-up. Let me know in the comments what you think about year 7. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Corbin Carroll because I think overall he probably had the best overall season. Also, he drove the Diamondbacks to a winning season, which cannot be looked over, considering that the lineup for the Reds is way better than what Corbin Carroll is dealing with. Also hitting in the 4 hole. So year 7, Corbin Carroll. Let's get to year 8. Corbin Carroll has been traded to the Yankees for a handful of prospects. I mean, this could only be good for Corbin Carroll's career, leaving the deserts of Phoenix, Arizona, and coming to New York. He's currently on pace this season at the All-Star break, batting 20 home runs, 77 RBIs with a 309 average and an OBP approaching 400. The WAR is at 4.5. His fielding percentage is excellent again. And the Yankees must have seen somebody with a ton of potential because they gave up a lot of prospects for it. If we go into the All-Star voting, actually, and we switch over to the American League and we go over to left field, Corbin Carroll has made the All-Star team. Some of you may be wondering, where are the All-Star updates? Well, we haven't had one yet because neither Elly De La Cruz or Corbin Carroll have made the All-Star team in the first 7 years of their career. However, Corbin Carroll, with his move to the Yankees, has somehow garnered enough interest, maybe fan voting, to finally make that happen. And if we go over to the National League, for third base, Elly De La Cruz batting 16 home runs, 51 RBIs, 275 average, leading all third basemen, and he is going to represent the Cincinnati Reds at the All-Star game as well. So we shall see Elly De La Cruz take on Corbin Carroll in the All-Star game. For right now, Elly De La Cruz, however, having a pretty decent start, even if batting 7th in the lineup, still pushing out those numbers with 16 home runs, 51 RBIs, 275 average, and a WAR just above 4.0, sitting at 4.3. And this could be on pace for really a career year, may even eclipse 2028. So we'll see how it plays out. Love to see the Yankees in the playoffs as well as Cincinnati. And man, wouldn't it be a dream if both of them would meet in the World Series? But anything could happen. Let's get to the end of the year. So both the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Yankees have made the playoffs here. Cincinnati is going to be taking on San Diego in the wild card game, and New York is going to take on two-time World Series winner during the simulation, the Seattle Mariners, the 4 and 5 spot. We're going to go ahead and start with Cincinnati, and we're going to start off with a 3-game spot against the Padres, and we're going to go for a 6-0 loss. Hunter Green just getting shelled by Andrew Painter. Shohei is going to take on Game 2 against Max Meyer, and the odds are stacked against him, but he somehow pulls through 6-3, a victor in the rubber match of this 3-game playoff. We have the Reds beating out the Padres to take on the LA Dodgers. Unfortunately, the Yankees have fallen, and so has Corbin Carroll, to Seattle 2-0. Corbin Carroll, again, just not having any luck in the playoffs, no matter what team he currently plays with. LA against Cincinnati. Elly De La Cruz looking to finally break through and get to a World Series, but first he's got to get through the Dodgers in the National League Divisional Series, opening up with a win. That's a nice start. Hunter Green looking for some redemption, loses again. Max Meyer looking to kind of take advantage of his luck streak so far, loses to Jose Urquidy, and Ken Waldichuk loses, and that's it. The Reds are out of the playoffs in year 8, which is, well, not totally unexpected given their current lineup. Year 9 and 10 should put them in a great position to make a run, but for this season, that'll be it. Let's check out the awards given out so far. No Gold Glove for Elly De La Cruz this season. Unfortunately, Jacob Berry, Mark Vientos, and Jordan Westberg. I mean, Elly De La Cruz wasn't even the top 3 contenders, which is strange because he usually finishes 1 and 2. In the American League, if we go over to left field, yep, there is no Corbin Carroll. I wonder if the move to the American League in mid-season had messed up that Gold Glove run. But let's go ahead and check out the Silver Slugger Award in the American League. And Elly De La Cruz finishes second behind Austin Riley. And in the outfield, nope, Sal Frelick. That is surprising. And Anthony Santander, both making a run. So a lot of offense coming out of the Cincinnati Reds camp. De La Cruz finishing the season with 28 home runs, 90 RBIs, which will be a career high, a low of 128 strikeouts, batting 279 with a 358 OBP, and a WAR just sitting at 6.7, which will absolutely smash the previous years as well. So a nice progression. We're looking at Elly De La Cruz, finally at 28 years old, sitting at the prime of his career, batting overall 95. and really making a statement. In New York, Corbin Carroll finishes the season with 31 home runs, 115 RBIs, 321 average with a 402 OBP, and a WAR sitting at 7.7. Despite their playoff struggles, I mean, 95 overall, 29 years of age, sitting in the prime. You got to give it to Corbin here in year 8. Elly had a great year, but Corbin just extending. And in their second half, in the twilight of their career faceoff, Corbin Carroll is really making a case for longevity. But there's still 2 more seasons to play through. Let's see what happens. This is year 8. We're going to year 9. Looking at the year 9 playoff picture, both Corbin Carroll as well as Elly De La Cruz have made the playoffs. Cincinnati has taken that wild card spot even after leading the division. Somehow St. Louis has overtaken them, so Cincinnati the 5th seed. However, Corbin Carroll and the New York Yankees are the #1 contender over in the American League. So we're going to go ahead and start with Cincinnati as they take on San Francisco in a 3-game spot. It would be a real shame, given the year that they've had, to fall to San Francisco here. So let's give it a go. Elly De La Cruz, again, the Cincinnati Reds, finally looking to break their playoff woes. First game is a loss, and we're relying now on Hunter Green to kind of make a comeback here. And that is it in year 9. The Cincinnati Reds have fallen to the San Francisco Giants. The New York Yankees have fallen to Tampa Bay as well, so Corbin Carroll not having the playoff success that he would like either. So both Elly De La Cruz and Corbin Carroll really just kind of feeling the sting of disappointment. Elly De La Cruz falling to 94 overall at the end of the year with 20 home runs, 83 RBIs, batting .262 with a 343 OBP. His fielding percentage is great, so he hasn't lost his step on the in the infield, but a 5.9 WAR is below what he's used to kind of providing after 9 years of service time. He's got 1 year to go, 20 home runs, 83 RBIs. Not terrible, just not what we were kind of expecting. He's also not developed into the leader we kind of hoped he would become, taking the Cincinnati Reds deep into the playoffs. Just perennially disappointing the fans over in Cincinnati. Corbin Carroll also really losing his step, not only in batting but also in the field with his vision. Yeah, that's what age does. He's hitting 30 years old. He hasn't lost a point overall, still sitting at 95. However, on the year, he's batted 27 home runs, 93 RBIs with a 304 average, 393 OBP, which is a slight dip from last year, only 15 stolen bases, and he ended the season on a WAR of 6.8, which really isn't terrible. He's getting more disciplined as he gets older, but at the same time, he took his playoff woes from the Arizona Diamondbacks and he brought them with him to New York. Even with the first round bye and the #1 seed in the playoffs, Corbin Carroll could not get past Tampa Bay in the divisional series, and both Corbin Carroll and Elly De La Cruz are out of the playoffs in year 9. Season 10 end of year awards. Corbin Carroll wins his 2nd Gold Glove and really just edging out Sal Frelick because of the assist number, I believe, is the defining mark here. Corbin Carroll has tied in a perfect fielding percentage quite a few times. He's really been unlucky not to win more Golden Gloves, but it's come down to that assist number. And if we switch over to the National League at third base, Elly De La Cruz has won 4 Gold Glove awards. Now let's take a look at the Silver Slugger to see how we've done there. And Elly De La Cruz is unfortunately not there, but for the outfield, it doesn't look like we have Corbin Carroll there as well. So no offensive awards for either of our face-off folk, but in the defensive categories, they have been absolutely primed. In year 10, the final year of a career face-off, the Cincinnati Reds have won their division and also won the #1 seed in the National League playoffs, giving Elly De La Cruz one last shot at winning something in his career other than Gold Gloves. And if we take a look at Elly as he stands at the moment, just regression. -4 to contact against left, -7 against power left, and currently on the year 17 home runs, 68 RBIs with 273 average. While the average is better than most of his career, the rest of the numbers have stumbled and fallen. His speed is falling, and I can only imagine his fielding has also taken a hit as well. But there's still glory to be had. Let's take a look at where the Yankees sit currently. Even though they did not make the playoffs, they were 75-87, which means that Corbin Carroll can no longer win a World Series here in the 10-year career challenge, but instead, let's take a look. He had some regression, not as badly as Elly De La Cruz, and he's at 28 home runs, 110 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, and a .303 average. That line is incredibly difficult to top. He's had this with an 8.4 WAR, no less. He's absolutely made a case here at the end of the career. I'm not sure how the stats will stack at the end when we look at the 10 years as a whole. Elly De La Cruz obviously took out an early lead. Corbin Carroll in year 10, well, really year 6 through 10 has been absolutely immense. Unfortunately, the New York Yankees have not been able to kind of capitalize on his success, and the Cincinnati Reds will fall to the St. Louis Cardinals, their 10-year nemesis, 3-1, and fall out of the playoffs, never advancing past the National League Divisional Series, and being a real disappointment to their fans. Elly De La Cruz, with all the hype, he's definitely had a season career, has spent his entire career with the Cincinnati Reds, but as it stands, he will not bring any type of silverware other than his personal accolades back to Cincinnati, and it's a real shame because his statistics are starting to regress all across the board. And at age 30, soon to be 31, his 10-year career is come to an end. And that'll do it for the first ever career face-off. We plan on doing way more of these challenges, and maybe next time a little bit shorter, but we're kind of learning as we go. Yeah, Elly De La Cruz had a fantastic 10-year career. Had some ups and downs. Won 4 Gold Gloves. Didn't win any Silver Sluggers. Didn't really win any important playoff series. Kind of got stuck at the National League Championship Series twice. And no Silver Sluggers, no MVPs, none of that. But he did give Cincinnati something to root for. They were in the playoffs most of the years throughout his career, which is a far cry from where they're at now. Corbin Carroll took Arizona as far as he could go before transferring over to the Yankees, which was a move that was actually pretty important for his career. That's where we saw the most growth. After year 6, he really took off, and while Elly started to regress around age 29, 30, Carroll Corbin basically stayed the same. He kept putting up 100-plus RBI seasons, won those Gold Gloves, never really won any offensive categories, kind of like Elly, but absolutely was a stalwart defender, made the All-Star team twice, and made the playoffs with the Yankees, which is always something that is exciting. So, in my opinion, I'd have to give it to Corbin Carroll over the 10-year career. I think he was an exciting player to watch, just like Elly De La Cruz, but at the end of the day, there can only be one winner, and the stats speak for themselves. So, congratulations, Corbin Carroll. If you're watching this, you're welcome.